If you're sexually active and unvaccinated, it could still be you.
I'm too old.
If you're under 45, you're not. For most people, HPV clears on its own, but for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers.
Wow. Gardasil 9 is a vaccine given to adults.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for your patience while we were getting our broadcast together. We were having some technical issues with the internet. Thank you for joining me for episode 5 of Veiled Mysteries, as always. Thank you for subscribing down below and making sure to click the bell notification down in the description to be notified every time we go live. Tonight, we are reviewing the depositions of former President Bill Clinton and former First Lady and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton that were conducted by the House Oversight Committee about a week ago. Because of the depositions being over 4 hours, we're only going to take a look at about 20 minutes each of the highlights. Links for both of the depositions will be in the description in their entirety, which I encourage you checking out as well. After this episode airs, I'll be able to put them in. Due to the heinous and unethical nature of Jeffrey Epstein, some of the conversations and events mentioned in the depositions may be unsuitable for some viewers. The discussions regarding these depositions that are about to air are our personal opinion with no intent to impede any current or federal investigation. All living individuals mentioned are innocent until proven guilty. There is no malicious intent to cause any financial harm to any individuals forementioned. As always, viewer discretion is advised. Episode 5 of Veiled Mysteries begins right now.
The following program you are about to watch will cover conspiracies, true crime, and deep investigative journalism. That may include sensitive topics some viewers may find disturbing or uncomfortable. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 5th episode of Veiled Mysteries. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are diving back into what we started talking about last week with the Epstein files. We're going to look at some of the deposition that took place with the Clintons. I know that's kind of been a hot topic recently. So we're going to take a look at some of those today. I do apologize. I was having some technical issues. Hopefully this is all working now. I was having some technical issues with getting the broadcast started. My computer said that I didn't have any internet, so I had to restart it. And then my camera was acting up. So it's been an eventful evening so far. Let me see if I can get into the screen that I'm trying to get to here. Perfect. So we're going to take a look at Hillary Clinton's deposition first. I'm going to be trying to watch the comments during this. I'm also going to be stopping to kind of put my thoughts and opinions in there, but we're going to just let it roll for a second. What we're going to start with at the very beginning of her deposition, and we're going to see a difference with Bill's as well. Hillary did a opening statement, which isn't unheard of in a deposition in front of Congress. I just found it was interesting. So we're going to hear that in part, and then we're going to kind of see a little bit of the beginning of the deposition process here. So
let me be as clear as I can. I do not. As I stated in my sworn declaration on January 13th, I had no idea about their criminal activities. I do not recall ever encountering Mr. Epstein. I never flew on his plane or visited his island, homes, or offices. I have nothing to add to that. Like every
I do want to stop even before we get into more. There were a couple, I believe it is brought up in the deposition as well. There are several photos that have surfaced of Jeffrey Epstein at the White House during Bill Clinton's administration, one of which Hillary Clinton is photographed in. Now, I'm not saying that means anything. That, when you are in that position of power, you are meeting, in presidency, you're meeting hundreds of thousands of people. Is she going to remember every single one? Absolutely not. And we're going to see that testimony in this deposition. And I do believe that. However, because of the relationship that Bill Clinton had with Jeffrey Epstein, and we're going to see that in his deposition as well, I don't know how I feel about her saying that, but let's watch. I'm not going to interrupt for a moment. Let's watch.
Decent person, I've been horrified by what we have learned about their crimes. It's unfathomable that Mr. Epstein initially got a slap on the wrist in 2008, which allowed him to continue his predatory practices for another decade. Mr. Chairman, your investigation is supposed to be assessing the federal government's handling of the investigations and prosecutions of Epstein and his crimes. You subpoenaed 8 law enforcement officials, all of whom ran the Department of Justice or directed the FBI, when Epstein's crimes were investigated and prosecuted. Of those 8, only 1 appeared before the committee. 5 of the 6 former attorneys general were allowed to submit brief statements stating they had no information to provide. You have held 0 public hearings, refused to allow the media to attend them, including today, despite espousing the need for transparency on dozens of occasions. You have made little effort to call the people who show up most prominently in the Epstein files. And when you did, not a single Republican member showed up for Les Wexner's deposition. This institutional failure is designed to protect one political party and one public official, rather than to seek truth and justice for the victims and survivors, as well as inform the public who want to get to the bottom of this matter. Instead, you have compelled me to testify, fully aware that I have no knowledge that would assist your investigation, in order to distract from President Trump's actions and to cover them up despite legitimate calls for answers.
Okay, so we're going to stop here for just a second, as we heard in the beginning of that deposition. I want you to take note of the tone. The tone is how I'm perceiving it. Now you can perceive your own here. The tone to me is, I have better things to do. I'm no help to you, even though my husband's mentioned in the files. I'm no help to you. But here I am against my will. That's what that feels like. We're going to see, I kind of wish I could do like a side-by-side of them. I do want to watch them individually. We're going to see a difference in Bill's deposition and his testimony. We'll just continue here. Also, the Epstein files, I think everyone can agree with this. The Epstein files are not a political thing. There's political people involved, but they're not political. It's not a red issue. It's not a blue issue. It's not a Democrat, Republican, United States, Israel, anything. It is affecting the entire world, multiple different industries. We're talking political, we're talking Hollywood, we're talking, entertainment industry, all of that. This is multiple industries being affected. So the fact that Hillary Clinton is going in and it feels very 2016 to go after Trump. Yes, we know that Donald Trump is in the files. She is here to testify for herself and what she knows. It feels very 2016 to kind of go the political route. This is much more than politics, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people agree with that. So let's continue here.
If this committee is serious about learning the truth about Epstein's trafficking crimes, it would not rely on press gaggles to get answers from our current president on his involvement. It would ask him directly under oath about the tens of thousands of times he shows up in the Epstein files. If the majority was serious, it would not waste time on fishing expeditions. There is too much to be done. What is being held back? Who is being protected? And why the cover-up? So my challenge to you, Mr. Chairman, and members of this committee is the same challenge I put to myself throughout my long service to this nation. How to be worthy of the trust of the American people that they have given to you. They expect statesmanship, not gamesmanship, leading, not grandstanding. And they expect you to use your power to get to the truth and to do more to help survivors of Epstein's crimes, as well as the millions more who are victims of sex trafficking in this country and around the world.
Are you aware that?
Okay, so fiery opening statement here. Let's see if this is working for me. I'm having more technical issues. We're not having a good time here today, folks. Look at this. I'm just frozen. Oh my Lord. This is so good. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. We're gonna try and press on here. I'm gonna see if I can keep gosh, it's not even. I'm gonna see if we can press on here. Let's continue to watch a little bit of this. Like I said, fiery testimony from the former Secretary of State. So yeah, like I said, it's unfortunate that my husband's involved, but I have no information for you. Let's continue here.
That both Republicans and Democrats voted to subpoena you and your husband?
I am here.
Okay. Are you aware both Republicans and Democrats voted to hold you in contempt when you didn't show up?
I am here.
Is that partisan when both parties vote to do something together? Is that partisan or nonpartisan?
I think it's standing up for the institution, but there are many other aspects of the committee's work that strikes me as avoiding the main issues about who should be sitting here, who has actual information that might be useful to your investigation.
As if it was not in your purview when you were Secretary of State, then why is it today in Secretary Rubio's purview?
Because what's happened is that the office that was actually following what was going on around the world has been decimated. 70% of the staff is gone. It's impossible to carry out the functions of that office if you don't have a critical number of people. So my question would be to Secretary Rubio, is there more that can be done?
I'm running out of time here. You were clothed with immense power as Secretary of State. You've stated on the record in your opening statement that child sex trafficking in general, human trafficking, trafficking of all kinds is a priority. You were clothed with immense power. Your husband was clothed with immense power. And until you got this subpoena and until these files were out in the open, you did nothing to try to effectuate all of these things you say that should have been done. Is that correct?
No, it's totally incorrect. I mean, all of your assumptions are ones that I reject.
When you saw photos of your husband in a hot tub laying on a beach and getting massaged by other women, and you knew that Jeffrey Epstein was involved in some of these trips and these things, did it concern you at all?
I'm here not to offer my opinions. I'm here to answer specific questions to the best of my ability.
When you saw your husband in these photos with a young woman being massaged, what went through your mind?
I am not going to speculate.
You didn't have any feelings about young women massaging your husband?
I am not going to offer opinions or speculation about anything that I have no context for and was not there.
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair comeback to that question because she was not there, allegedly, that we know of, in the photos that are kind of floating around in the files. I did have them for this podcast, but I've determined that my general viewing audience, I am not putting that on the internet. I'm just not spreading that through the internet. They are publicly available. You're welcome to go look them up. But I did not want to include them in the podcast solely on the content of them. But let me describe. We may see on the table one of the photos. Let me give you a little context of what they are. So it is a trip that Bill Clinton went on with Jeffrey Epstein, which we'll hear that testimony and we'll hear the story of that. In some hotel overseas, and they are in a hot tub. It's him, Ghislaine Maxwell, and an unknown female. And this is kind of where that question comes in here.
After you learned that Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of sex crimes with kids, did any of these photos of your husband with women being massaged on the beach, did it concern you?
I have no context for even answering that question. And I think, obviously the innuendo, all the rest of it.
I'm asking a black and white question. I'm not putting any leading statements into it or adjectives. Did you do anything to determine what was happening in those images or on those trips that once you saw these photos, once you realized Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted sex offender of children, did you do anything to determine what was happening on these trips with your husband?
I don't find any of your questions to be relevant to the investigation.
Well, it is relevant if a former president was traveling around with young women.
Well, you'll have a chance to talk to him tomorrow.
Excuse me, can I interrupt?
Okay, so next thing we're going to talk about. Obviously, I think there was a good point with those. If she was not on the trip, how can she testify to it? That's fair. I get that. What's about to happen here? And I guess we can talk a little bit about it here. The depositions were private. So typically when you are testifying in front of Congress, it's in one of those big rooms, if you've ever seen it on the news. And we get to see kind of the back and forth with the congressperson and then who they're asking questions for. Famously, we've seen Mark Zuckerberg testify in front of Congress, that kind of setup where it's a back and forth with a member of a committee, and it's all live playing on television real time. These were done privately. There's no real reason why or what it was talked about, why it was private. The only thing I can speculate is because they were doing 2 depositions for 2 different people that are related. They did them in private sessions so that they wouldn't kind of feed off of each other. That's my assumption. There's nothing saying or backing that, but that's my personal assumption. That's like, for example, if me and one of my best friends were in a situation, they would not have us together or televise it to each other. That's what I'm assuming. So they did them separately. There's a lot of pushback. We'll see a little bit later in one of these clips from Hillary Clinton why it's not public. I think that's part of the reason why it's not public. So they're not like feeding off of each other. So to piggyback off of that, what happened in one of the sections of this deposition, a person on the panel, one of the committee members, photographed Hillary Clinton and posted it on X. I don't know. There was 2 incidents. There was a congressperson that had taken an excerpt. I don't think it was a recording. It was just like a statement, and had published it to a close friend at the New York Times. So that was one of the leaks. I don't know who did that. And then this one was more notable. It was someone on the committee that had leaked a photo during the closed deposition. So this is, I believe it's Hillary Clinton's counsel recognizing that it was posted online. And then this was a little bit of her reaction as well.
I have
There
another.
are photos that are being released of the secretary as she is testifying from inside this room. Can you please advise me as to whether or not that's permissible and consistent with the rules, particularly given that we have asked for a public hearing? If there are photos that are being released of the secretary as she is testifying, can you please explain how that
I'm
can
done
occur?
with this. If you guys are doing that, I am done. You can hold me in contempt from now until the cows come home. This is just typical behavior.
We will go off the record.
Oh, for heaven's
So I would like
sake.
to understand how that's permissible.
Before the hearing was,
It doesn't
Excuse
matter.
me.
We all are abiding by the same rules.
I will take that down.
Yeah,
So I
well,
would like to take a break at this moment.
yeah,
and we'd like to have
I'm
a
done
conversation.
for now.
Go off the record. Go off the record.
Okay, so they do go off the record at this point. We see some fiery comeback from Hillary Clinton, which I do have to say, this is justified. They were following the rules properly. Someone broke those rules and those standards of the committee, so I think that was absolutely justified. The problem that comes from this is now we have a situation where we were pushing for a private committee, which we got. The Clintons agreed to. And then we're compromising that by posting on the internet about it. So, and if the agreed rules were no cameras other than this camera that would be released within 24 hours of the deposition, obviously this kind of messes everything up with that. So let's see what they come back with
more
here.
transparent than a public hearing, cameras on. Secretary Clinton, why is it important for you to testify before this committee in a public setting?
Well, first of all, I believe in public testimony.
Oh, so this is her reasoning to why it should be a public testimony. So we're going to listen to this for a second.
I believe that the public has a right to know what its selected members of Congress are investigating and legislating. Having served for 8 years, I think it is useful as a member to do a hearing in public because you're going to learn things by the coverage of it, by the response that you get from people. You know, this hearing, if it were in public, maybe somebody, your question about intelligence, maybe somebody watching it would have said, oh my gosh, I just remembered having a conversation with Foreign Minister X or Prime Minister Y. And that person
Sorry, I'm still
mentioned
having
Jeffrey
technical
Epstein.
issues.
Most people are
Driving me
not going to look
crazy
at the
right now.
video. They're not going to read the transcript, but they will follow a live public hearing. So I think it actually enhances the work that those of us who've been privileged to serve are doing and can do. So to me, it is just an absolute prerequisite for doing the kind of legislative and investigative work as effectively as possible by doing it in public.
And did you know that you would be photographed today?
No.
And is that at all part of what you had understood about the terms of the agreement for today's deposition?
Well, I will confess that I had some concerns about whether the majority on the committee would treat me fairly and would, fairly convey what I say and what I did and how I looked and how I responded. So yes, I did have a concern. And when we learned about the photos being taken not by a staff member, but by a member, it was shocking and very disappointing. So if it were in public, we wouldn't have that debate. Everybody could see the same thing that the congresswoman saw. I'm sitting here, sometimes I'm smiling, sometimes I'm frowning, sometimes I look good, sometimes I don't. That's all in public. Everybody can have the same view rather than, an angled photo and all the rest of it. So it was disappointing, and I regret that it happened and it violated your rules, but that's not the real concern I have. The real concern is get busy. Focus on the people that have something to tell you, that can tell you about intelligence, money, and crimes, and get them before you, and whenever possible, do it in public. Having observed President Trump up close and personal for a number of years now since I ran against him.
Okay, so here we go. Where I had kind of piggybacked off of what I said earlier. We're going back to the Trump blame. Like I said, we know Donald Trump's in the files. That's not new news. It feels deflective. She's here for her to defend her name and Bill's, I guess, by association. I don't know. This feels like unnecessary, but we're going to go ahead and listen into this real quick.
He has a tell. He has a behavioral tell. Whenever he is worried about being found out himself, he accuses somebody else of doing what he actually has done. And it's just a pattern with him. So it's no surprise to me that all of a sudden, what he promised in his campaign to reveal, everything about the files, and then when his people began looking in the files and realized how potentially incriminating they were of him, all of a sudden, that was no longer the focus. It was blaming Democrats, talking about a hoax, saying move on, there's nothing to see here. That is a typical pattern of President Trump's behavior, which speaks louder than all the words that he speaks and all of the Truth Social posts that he makes. He clearly knows what he did. He knows what others did, because remember, one of the emails that has come out recently is he called the police chief of Palm Beach at the time Epstein was arrested, according to reporting, to say, I'm so glad you got him. I'm so glad you're stopping him. Well, how would he know that?
And finally, do you think that Donald Trump should be deposed by this committee?
Absolutely. I was a lawyer. And as a lawyer, you would look for pattern and practice. If you were deposing a witness in a case that you were trying, if you were in court, what did you know about this person? What you knew could influence how you questioned that person, how you tried the case. Donald Trump has been held civilly liable for sexual assault by a jury of his peers. 9 members of a jury found him liable in the sexual assault of E. Jean Carroll. That is behavior. That fits a pattern if one were looking for a pattern. He has also been convicted on 34 felony counts for attempting to hide his relationship with an escort, and then to commit business fraud to prevent it from becoming public in the 2016 campaign, which was ultimately election interference. So,
Okay, we're getting the point here. We're not talking about the Epstein files anymore. This is where I got frustrated, and I've watched the whole thing. I highly recommend watching the whole thing. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the description after the show today. We're veering away from what the Clintons were brought here for. I don't know if that's a tactic. I don't know if that is, we're feeling old roots and we're just going for the jabs, because both of them together, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, jab at each other like always. We've always seen it. We've seen it for the past 10, 15 years. I feel like we're getting away from what we were brought in here for. That's just my 2 cents, but we're going to keep watching here.
If I were running the committee or I were involved in this investigation, I would be looking for people who maybe had some prior conduct that might be relevant to either money or crimes. And yes, I think that it would be in keeping with the scope of the investigation of this committee to set up a deposition with President Trump. I know he's been deposed many, many, many times. He's taken the Fifth Amendment many, many hundreds of times. So I'm not saying you're going to get a lot of information. But given what's in the files and given past and prior conduct, he would be on my witness list.
By this standard of behavior, multiple credible accusers, including Juanita Broderick, who alleged rape against your husband was disbarred in Arkansas, lost his law license before the Supreme Court, flew on Epstein's plane dozens of times, visited Epstein's island.
That is not true. That is absolutely untrue.
Well, there's documentation in the DOJ files. I'm not sure you're aware, your attorneys have told you, but Jeffrey Epstein told one of the victims to lie to investigators, to lie that Bill Clinton was ever on Epstein Island. I can provide that document to you.
We would like that document, please.
Okay.
Yeah, counsel,
I can do
because
that.
actually the files say just the opposite. Epstein himself denied he was.
These are FBI notes.
We got a little back and forth here. I have been looking myself into this. I can't find either claim. Now, bear with me. There's 3 million plus files released right now. So I am looking for what they're referring to. They're just this evidence stacked against Bill Clinton, whether it be positive or negative. He was friends at one point with Jeffrey Epstein, and I'm not trying to jump ahead here. We're gonna watch his deposition as well. Silly back and forth. I want to see. I got comments up here, so I want to see your thoughts and opinions on this. I'm also going to try to take some calls as well, but let's continue here.
Notes from an interview with a victim, and I can get you the victim number and the case number and the files. These are notes from a 302 interview.
If you'd like those, are you going to provide those now?
I don't. That's not my line of questioning. She brought it up, but I have a
I'm
document.
sorry,
I can give to
you're
you.
making a representation as to the facts.
I didn't enter anything as an exhibit.
But it's factually inaccurate.
No, I can give it to you later. I can go find the document, make copies of it, and give it to you this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Okay. By your standard of pattern of behavior, according to documents released by the Department of Justice, your husband appears in photos in swimming pools, hot tubs, aboard Jeffrey Epstein's private plane with unidentified young women. We came here today and told this committee that a pattern of behavior demands accountability, correct?
I said that I believe the committee should call anyone who had a substantial pattern and practice of contact with Jeffrey Epstein and his crimes before they came to light.
Does that include your husband?
And after they came to light. You're going to have a chance to question him tomorrow.
So I'll ask you again, by the standard you just set, in your own words just now, does this standard apply equally to your husband or only President Trump?
I have said that my husband has been subpoenaed. He will appear. He will answer your questions to the best of his ability. But there is no evidence whatsoever of any connection with Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. And I think that that will be obviously apparent in the questioning.
What makes you so sure of that then? I mean, he's photographed with...
Objection is to speculate on something.
The objection to the speculation is crazy. I just need to say that out loud. Because There are photos. There's several photos of Bill Clinton with Jeffrey Epstein. There's one photo that I can think of Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton with Jeffrey Epstein, which we'll kind of get back to that in Bill's deposition. But there are photos. There are photos. Let's continue.
Yeah, it is so speculative. I mean, swimming in a pool, sitting in a hot tub, there are millions of people who do that without any improper behavior or certainly committing any crimes. So
not with women
Most of the
overseas.
men are like your husband that did anything wrong by whether they're being surrounded by young women, giving them massages on Jeffrey's private estate or private plane. Are they all innocent then?
You know,
Just because-
you are making assumptions in your questions that have not been proven and I don't believe are provable. Thank you for a fun night. Your littlest girl was a little.
These are good. These are emails from the files that have something to do with Bill. I forget the context, but they're emails. I believe they're emails around the time that Bill was visiting or on the island or something. There's something to do with the Clintons here. We'll just listen into the email itself.
Naughty.
How does that
I'll
make you
back up
feel?
just a little
Makes
bit.
me sick.
Hold on.
If you can also read the
Back up
EFT.
just a little bit.
Thank you for a fun night. Your littlest girl was a little naughty.
How does that make you feel?
Makes me sick.
If you can also read the E EFTA 008788421. This is also another email. Can you just please provide the context? It's an email to Jeffrey Epstein. If you could just read the context of what it is.
Of course, the Ohio Jesus, I'm coming trick.
And just the main body of the context of the email.
Said that she felt God's presence next to her when she was in bed. She knows that Jesus watches over her and he helped save her life. Whoops.
How does that make you feel?
It's bizarre. I don't know what it means.
The reason I asked you to read both of these is because these emails were both sent by co-conspirators that were then given the plea deals and now have been given victim status. Both of these women were also named an FBI document, and they're on a number of other emails. Do you believe that the Department of Justice should reevaluate the plea deals for some of these women, given that, as you can see, they have clearly done some things probably that they shouldn't have?
I don't know the status of whether that would be legally possible, so I have no opinion.
I think outside of the statute of limitations, they might be able to reinvestigate under the civil rights violations. Would you be in favor of that, or looking into any of the co-conspirators that were given plea deals down to victim status if there's credible evidence that they were trafficking young girls?
I think it should be pursued.
All right, Secretary Clinton, how do you feel about your husband being named in the Epstein files?
Well, I think it's, something that is unfortunate.
Unfortunate.
And I'm sure that he will tell you that he wished he had not flown on Epstein's plane. So that's, it's unfortunate in my opinion.
Is how do we determine whether or not Epstein was a spy, whether or not Epstein was trading secrets, because he had people on the inside.
I find this an interesting question because I think we've come to the conclusion that he was a spy. I don't know if he was intelligence for the United States. Personally, I think he was in cahoots with the CIA, but I think we've come to the conclusion that he was a spy. So I find that an interesting question. We'll listen to her response here before we get to
especially in the Obama administration. We're not saying you, but Obama's former counsel that then went to Goldman Sachs. Where do we go in this investigation to try to determine whether or not he was an asset?
Mr. Chairman, I really appreciate that question. And I can't say that about many of the questions, but I really do appreciate that question. And I think it's an absolutely essential question for you to try to examine and find answers for. And I think you said that you had either document requests or maybe even a subpoena to the CIA. I I would also include the DNI. I would include, any counterintelligence or appropriate unit within the Justice Department. I think you have to cast a wide net. And now that, as you describe, the government in the UK is investigating both Andrew Mountbatten and Peter Mendelsohn, maybe they would cooperate with you in their investigation. And maybe, you could reach out to the intelligence agencies of other countries that you're looking at. Israel has been mentioned. Perhaps that is one to be. I don't think Iran is going to cooperate, but I think, or Russia, but I think you could, certainly go to the UK and go to Israel and see if they would be at all helpful to you.
In your experience as Secretary of State, and I know you were First Lady, but you were more active, in my opinion, than most First Ladies in the President Clinton's administration. Does he exhibit characteristics? Is there a pattern that would lead you and your expertise to believe that he was an asset?
Well, there certainly is in the files, and I do commend you for getting as much released as you can. I hope you can get it all released. Hints of relationships with powerful foreign leaders, pictures, emails, meetings. He was clearly somebody who traded off of information.
Exactly.
He liked to collect it, and then he liked to use it. I don't know any more details than that. So he is certainly, I said earlier, the intelligence connections, the money connections, the crimes, those seem to me to be the three major elements of your investigation.
So suddenly, he partied alone. That's what it sounds like. We're going to get to Bill Clinton now, which I am more interested in hearing everyone's opinion on, because there's something real about Bill Clinton's. The tone is different. My only thing with this, and it has to be brought up, and I know it's a pop culture thing. Bill Clinton has been on the stand in front of Congress before. We know that did not go well, and we know that it was not 100% truthful. Does that mean anything different now? I think we should listen to what the former president has to say. I think there's useful information in here. I also think it's very interesting that there's one or two lines, I think it's covered in this summary here, that contradicts a little bit of what the former Secretary of State said. So let's listen in here, and we'll see the tone change right from the start.
I think you should have called me. I did take those plane trips with him, and you have a right to ask those questions.
Right off the bat.
So I'm glad to be here, and
I don't know if you can hear, hopefully you can hear this.
I understand what the oath is. I have to be honest with you.
Okay, you can hear.
I'll be 80 years old if I live to my next birthday. I don't remember everything that happened 24 years ago, but I do remember some things, and I will tell you what I remember as best I can.
So right off the bat, I did take those plane trips with Jeffrey Epstein. And you have every right to ask why. I think that's interesting. I feel like that contradicts a little bit. I mean, the tone contradicts from Hillary, because it was very, I know nothing, I'm no help, but you can ask my husband. But I think that was interesting right from the start. So let's go ahead and listen in.
Described on being on a 2002 Africa trip and providing massages. Was she or any other young female on that trip underage at that time?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Did you ever receive a massage or have physical contact from her or anyone else on that trip?
You've seen the pictures. There was one time when I was sitting up and I got a back rub, a neck rub.
Okay.
And I think Shantae did it, but I'm not sure. I wish Shantae had told me. I liked her. But I didn't think it was anything unusual. I can't tell you how many airplanes I've been on where rich people asked me to go and they had someone offering a massage. You know, all these boats that you go on and all that, they all do that.
Did you ever visit Epstein's Little St. James Island?
No.
Interesting. Like I said, all of the sudden, he partied alone. Let's continue.
We have Virginia Guffrey, who has testified seeing you on the island with 2 young girls. Did this occur at all? Okay. Why do you think she would have made that claim?
Objection, speculation. He can't possibly.
Have you ever met her or any other Epstein associated underage girl?
Not to my knowledge.
In Epstein's 2016 deposition unsealed in the DOJ files, he refused to answer if you were accompanied by 2 young women who were approximately 18 years old on the island. Were any such women potentially underage with you? I know you've stated that you were not there, but did you have any interaction with the said
Objection
individuals?
to the foundation of the question. He's already stated he was not on the island. You're now asking about a claim of the Fifth Amendment by Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay. Is it possible, and in your opinion, that you and or your wife were targeted as a means of an intelligence gathering operation?
Object to the
by
form of the
Jeffrey Epstein and
question.
Ghislaine Maxwell?
Object to the form of the question. No objection to if he knows that they were targeted.
I believe that's what she asked.
No, she said it's impossible, so she's asking him to speculate instead of asking him, does
Do
he
you
know?
know? Do you know if you were targeted at any point?
I don't, but
Okay.
I don't. I'd sort of be surprised, but I'm not. I don't know.
Mr. President, before we left off, I asked you to characterize your relationship with Mr. Epstein. I asked you if you considered him to be a friend. You said you did not. Is that right?
I said we were friendly and we had a cordial relations, but I didn't know him well enough because we had almost no contact beyond what I described.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't like that. I don't like that he said that. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my shirt right now. I don't like that he said that because, ladies, he started with the fact that he was using his plane frequently. So he knew him. He went on several trips with him. And he said they weren't that friendly. I don't know. If I was using someone's plane, I feel like I'd be pretty close with them personally. Let's continue.
At this time, I'd like to introduce what will be marked as Majority Exhibit 13. And this is Bates marked House Oversight 000126. And while it's being passed out, this is a letter from a book of letters, which
Yeah, it's his 50th birthday.
Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday.
Questions?
This is
Mr.
explosive.
President, do you recognize this
I do.
letter? And for the record, does this appear to be your handwriting and signature?
It is.
And why did you write this letter?
Why did I? Because I was requested to contribute a nice letter for his birthday book.
So if he's not friends with him and he doesn't know him that well, why is he writing a birthday card for him? I don't know, ladies. I don't know. Let's continue. Because I think he reads the card as well. Let's continue.
And who asked you to write the letter?
I don't remember.
Would Miss Maxwell have asked
I
you?
don't know. I think someone on my staff asked me.
Now, there's a word that our committee has not been able to identify, and in our defense, the Wall Street Journal has not been able to identify.
Imagine being on his staff.
Can you please read the letter for the record?
Yes. It's reassuring, isn't it, to have lasted so long across all the years of learning and knowing, adventures and errors, and still to have your childlike curiosity, the drive to make a difference, and the solace of friends. Not a bad letter.
And because we haven't been able to identify that word until now? What did you
Which
mean?
word was it that you could not?
Solace, you couldn't,
No, errors.
errors.
Were
What did
you
I mean?
refer-
Anybody who's lived 50 years and done anything has made mistakes as well as progress and done things.
But for the record, you weren't referring to errors in judgment that Mr. Epstein had related to his inappropriate activities involving you?
Absolutely not. I knew nothing about that.
We have, as you know, in the files that were released, there were several photos included you, and we have an exhibit here. That's just one of the photos, and Exhibit K, Minority Exhibit K.
Yep.
And we'll have that passed around. And what we're trying to get at is some context for the public on whether you remember
Okay,
this
so
photo.
now we're going to be getting into
and any
the
details you may be able to provide us about it.
hot tub photo, which we
So
can
do you recall
see
the details of
kind
this
of
photo,
hovering
recall the
around
photo
there.
being taken?
No,
If
I don't
you
think I-
if you know anything about the files, seen any photos online, I know a little bit's been covered in the media. I think it's also strange that it's not really being covered in the media. We know this photo. If you know anything about it, you know this photo. So if you've even seen just like a little bit of it pass along to Bill Clinton's attorneys, you know the photo we're talking about.
I never knew the photo was taken.
Okay, and for those who can't see it, it's a photo of you in a hot tub. There's a person next to you here. Do you remember where it was taken? Where was it taken?
I'm almost sure that this taken, I think there's an adjacent photograph, which you probably have, that if people saw it, they would feel that someone was trying to con them showing this picture. But anyway, this picture was taken in Brunei. And we flew one night on a trip to Asia, the last very long leg.
You said we. Is it who is that including?
Well, my whole team that was working
Thank you.
on the AIDS issue, and Mr. Epstein was there, and Miss Maxwell. But anyway, we got to the end of.
So Jeffrey was there and Ghislaine Maxwell was there. Noted. Let's continue.
The end of the flight was Brunei. It's a tiny place, but a very wealthy one. And the Sultan of Brunei was a man that I had gotten to know well in my 8 years as president. And his first involvement with international matters was basically to join the Asian Pacific Economic Leaders Conference, which I started and which he attended. And then he was very proud of that, and he hosted, his time came to host it. You know, you do these things in rotation. And it came either at the very end of my term or maybe the next year. Anyway, he wanted, when he knew I was coming, he said he wanted to help me with my AIDS initiative, and he invited me to stay there. And he said, I want you to stay at this hotel, and I hope you'll use the pool.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh. I really don't. That's just such an odd sentence. Let me invite you to this hotel for what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing. Make sure you use the pool while you're there. Are we effing serious, people? Come on. That's crazy.
So I did, and then I got out and went to bed, exhausted.
Just for the record, there's another picture that also shows this as part of the larger pool area. Do you all have that so that he can refresh his recollection with respect to that?
You should have it. It's quite enlightening. If you watch this,
Yes, it's noted.
it'll
Yes.
give you a different feel.
Thank you.
Okay.
We don't have it with us right now.
Okay,
We do
thanks. I just
have
wanted
it
to
as
make sure he knew the
And so
context.
were there other people in that pool or hot tub with you as well?
I don't think there's anybody in the hot tub. I didn't forgotten that there was anybody in the hot tub, but it was big, but it was about
Well, there's
He's asking.
Okay, so he forgot who was in the hot tub. Sure, he doesn't know who the girl that's redacted in the photo is. Fine, whatever. Ghislaine Maxwell, literally in 2 photos away from this in the file, same night, is in the pool. They were on a trip together. I don't think you can forget that part. Let's continue.
In the pool
It appears
area.
this photo, there's a girl over here, or there's someone.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
But he's also asking in the pool area whether other
Yes,
individuals.
I don't know who that is.
Okay, so you don't know?
No, and then there were other people in the pool.
Okay, so do you remember who, were they under 18? Would you
No.
know? No.
Were they part of your traveling party, he's asking you?
Ghislaine Maxwell was in the pool.
Yes, they were, I think. I think everybody there was part of our party. It was late at night and or late-ish. And I also believe that there was a Secret Service agent there at the other end of the pool.
Okay, and was this in public?
No, it was a hotel room, and the Sultan wanted us to stay there, and the water of this big pool was on the same floor that there were several suites, so we went out, I swam around, I sat in the hot tub for 5 minutes, or whatever it was, and I got up and went to bed.
And then I have to ask this, did you engage in any sexual activity
No.
with this person? Okay, thank you.
Mr. President?
Here's the photo that we're talking about. I don't know. Sorry, I'm doing it kind of sloppy. This is the pool. That's Ghislaine Maxwell on the left. This is this, and you can see the hot tub on the left-hand side. This is the photo we're talking about, by the way. Let me see if I have the other one here. This is the other one that we're referring to. I didn't want to show them on here. I'm getting frustrated. This is the other photo we're talking about. Let's continue.
There's been new information that has come out regarding the autopsy of Mr. Epstein. I would just like to ask you personally and directly.
I find this interesting because I've kind of been on board. This is my new conspiracy theory. Get your tinfoil hats on, ladies. My newest conspiracy theory is Jeffrey Epstein is alive. He's living in Israel somewhere. That's my own personal conspiracy theory. That's me being crazy. Let's listen to what Bill Clinton has to say.
Do you believe that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself?
Are you asking him to speculate on how Mr. Epstein died?
I'm asking what the president thinks of.
So you're asking his opinion?
Mr. President, was your friend Jeffrey Epstein
Are
suicidal?
you classifying him as a friend who he has testified that he was
has
friendly?
called him a friend in a letter.
He said he was friendly, but not. You've asked for his testimony.
Mr. President, do you believe that Jeffrey Epstein was suicidal?
Do you know?
Was he ever
She's asking for the
suicidal?
best of your
I
understanding.
don't know. I only know what the medical finding was. I think maybe
That's it.
he finally got caught, and I don't know. I've accepted it in my own mind. I don't know what happened,
Mr. President, what did you accept? That he killed himself or that he did not?
but he did, but I don't know.
Yes, sir. Thank you,
Neither
Mr.
do
President.
We don't, none of us know. We weren't there.
Mr. President, it's been an honor. Thank you.
It's, again, it's from GMAX, Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah, I read it.
We believe, while it's redacted, having seen the unredacted files, we believe that the two is to the same email. It says, sorry to hear about the Bellsberg stuff is bad news, even worse, that it may be damaging. You know that one of my pet fears is that in London I am press toxic, so I hope that I never add to your woes in that department. If I hear anything, I will of course let you know. I could not help myself. There was one juicy little tidbit I did let out, the one about what a super stud that you are and how I have a crush on you and how you are hung like a horse. And, well, you get the picture. Hope you don't mind. Are you familiar with?
Why are we chortling in the deposition? Bill Clinton's a child. Let's continue.
This email?
Are you saying at the time it was sent or in the preparation for this?
At the time that it was sent, were you familiar with it?
Oh, no.
Are you familiar with it before?
Yes, it's
Okay.
now famous.
Okay, well, what can you tell me about your knowledge of this email?
So if his knowledge is only from when he was prepared for this hearing, that would have been with his counsel, or is that what are you asking for outside of any preparation for this hearing?
Mr. President, do you believe that Mr. Band sent this or received this email?
I do.
Okay. So, and there's more. Let me go to the next one. Exhibit, which would be number 20.
Before we wrap this up, I just want to mention that I do want to see if anyone's interested in weighing in on this. I do have my phone number open. It's 407-801-7204. Feel free to text me your name first, and I'll give you a call back in that segment. We're just going to finish this up, but again, it's scrolling at the bottom of your screen, 407-801-7204. Go ahead and text your first name. Try and get to your call in the next segment, but let's continue here.
And the answer is, I don't know about
There's no question.
At the time.
I would just ask you to clarify whether or not you're asking if he knows about these emails at the time they were sent, or if you're asking whether or not he came to learn about them in the course of preparation, just so that distinction in time is clear.
Okay. I believe this email is also very short. It's just at the top. Again, it's from the WJC email, same one. And it says, "This email is silly. I want to spank bottoms tonight."
Who's it from?
It's from the same email account, the same email that has been used before, the WJC email. What was your knowledge of Mr. Band's relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell?
I knew he was, basically, he contacted her in the same way that she represented Epstein on things. I did not know, nor did I need to know, that they had a personal relationship for a while.
A physical relationship?
Are you asking him whether or not they had a physical relationship?
You believe they had a physical relationship?
I don't know for sure.
And just to be clear, you said it, but you did not have a physical relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell.
The president's answered that question multiple times.
Your statement in 2019 about only meeting with Jeffrey Epstein on 2 occasions briefly.
That is not correct. I'm going to object to that characterization. That is not what the statement says.
Okay, so the third
You're reading the Daily
paragraph
Beast article.
So to be
which
clear,
is a leftist rag, by the way. And on the third paragraph down, it says, in his Monday statement, Clinton said he had only, quote, one meeting with Epstein in his Harlem office in 2002, and around the same time made one brief visit to Epstein's New York apartment with a staff member and his security detail. Those are the 2
That
meetings
is in
were
addition to this.
referenced.
So the Daily Beast, Bill Clinton failed to mention his intimate dinner, 1995 dinner with Epstein.
This is the spiciest the whole thing's gotten. They're denying that he ever went to the apartment in New York, from what it sounds like. I don't know if there's any actual evidence of that. We'll have to look into that in the files, but we'll just continue.
That's by Pilar Melendez on the 11th of July, 2019.
All right, Mr. President, your statement saying only met with Epstein briefly twice, was that part of an effort to cover up your close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, correct?
Object to the form of the question. It misstates the record.
She's asking if you were trying to mislead the public.
No.
Okay. How many times did Ghislaine Maxwell visit your home in Chappaqua?
I have no idea.
Who invited her?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how. She may have been.
Mr. President, that's it.
Okay.
Hillary had political events there.
Okay. So is it in your,
So we don't know if she's been to their home. We do know, I don't think it was covered in either of the testimonies. We do know that Ghislaine Maxwell was a guest, not to Jeffrey Epstein, a guest to another friend of the Clintons at Chelsea Clinton's wedding. We do know that she was there. There's a photo of her at the wedding as well. Let's continue.
to your knowledge, Was she at your home in Chappaqua, likely because your wife had her over for Senate events? That's what you testified earlier today, correct?
That's not what he testified, but please ask the
I would
question
like
as
him
to
to
what he would
clarify.
actually, thank you, I appreciate that.
I do not know, but if you are implying the reverse, I will volunteer something. She was never at my house in Chappaqua for any personal reasons.
I didn't say anything for anything
No,
personal.
you didn't, but you had a great tone in your voice, and you're very good at it.
That's just,
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. I
It is a
admit
compliment.
Thank you. And I did not go to Yale Law School or any law school for that matter.
Mr. President, did you ever make any kind of attempt to influence the media's coverage of Jeffrey Epstein?
No.
At this time, I'd like to introduce what we've marked as Majority Exhibit 23. And this is Bates number EFTA 02792895.
One page.
yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Who's Shasta? I don't even know who that is.
And this is email from Virginia Giuffre, an Epstein victim, that alleged that you walked into Vanity Fair and threatened them not to write sex trafficking articles about your good friend, Jeffrey Epstein.
Good friend.
Mr. President, is this true?
No. No. Not no, hell no. Not close, no.
Why do you think Ms. Giuffre would make these claims?
Are you asking to have an opinion
I don't
about
know,
Ms.
but-
Giuffre's point of mind? Can we not do that? Like, ask him about the facts that he knows, as opposed to asking about the facts in other people's minds.
Mr. President, have you ever asked any other publication to shut down a story related to Mr. Epstein?
No.
So there was one moment that wasn't covered that I think is of note that I find interesting, was a direct contradiction to what Hillary Clinton had said in her deposition, and it was in regards to the current president, that he had a conversation with Donald Trump at one point, that he had a falling out with Jeffrey Epstein, and there was really no mention of that. That kind of was the hearsay part of it. We don't know if that conversation actually happened, but I think it's interesting that Bill Clinton had mentioned it in his deposition. Like I said, I do have my phone number open. It's 407-801-7204. If you would like to weigh in, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this, because there's a lot to unpack here. I think there's a lot of there's a lot that the Clintons may actually know. Maybe not so much Hillary. I do think she knew Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. I do think they were acquainted. Do I think they were close? Maybe not. I do, however, think Bill Clinton was friends with Jeffrey Epstein for several years, including his presidency, the 8 years that he was in the White House. We do know that Jeffrey Epstein was at the White House for a couple events. What those events were, it is unclear, but they were some sort of political events. Let's see if I have any hits here for a call. I know we're getting a little late here, so I do want to start wrapping up if I don't have any callers on the line. But yeah, I think there's so much more to unpack in this. I do think more people need to be brought in to testify to this committee, and share any possible information they may have. I think the Clintons still have more information, but that's just me, particularly Bill. I think he has more information. Just with the sheer amount that he's been mentioned and the photographs that he's in, I feel like there's more information. Now, do I think he was involved? We could spiral down a whole conspiracy about how the Clintons are involved with the Pizzagate scandal, all of that came out a couple years ago, all of that is a whole other discussion. A point I had brought up earlier, Bill Clinton testified in front of Congress before in the 90s. For those of you that don't know, the Monica Lewinsky scandal, he did lie in front of Congress, and it was ugly. It was a very ugly time. It was an embarrassing time in politics in the United States. So given that record, obviously that was, 25, 30 years ago. Given that record, can we fully take Bill's word? We say that cautionary. We say that with caution. We say that with, he's almost 80 years old. I think he might actually already be 80 years old. This was even longer ago, same time frame, 25, 30, maybe 35 years ago. But with the record of lying in front of Congress, can we take his word here? I don't know. He's done it before. Would he do it again? I don't know. Interesting things to think about as I continue to look through the Epstein files. I did mention last week that I am scared of the Epstein files. I think there's a lot more, like I kind of said in the beginning of my show. This is not a blue issue. This is not a red issue. This is not a Democrat-Republican issue. This is not a United States issue. This is multiple industries. This is multiple celebrities, multiple political figures from all over the world. So there's just more to unpack. It's more than our politics, more than the Clintons. So just keep that in mind. I do encourage you to look at the DOJ website, look through the files, look and do your own investigations and your own conclusions. As you have heard in this episode, there's some of my personal opinion in here. I try to keep it as straight as possible with what we're seeing versus, what is in the files. But obviously some of my opinion leaks into there as well. So I do encourage you to look at the files yourself, watch the depositions in full, make a bag of popcorn and watch all 4.5 hours of it and really see what is being made public to us and what you think the committee's next steps should be. So, of course, I have my disclaimer here. The discussions that aired in this episode are personal opinion with no intent to impede any current or federal investigation. All living individuals mentioned are innocent until proven guilty, and there is no malicious intent to cause any financial harm to individuals aforementioned. Yeah, my little disclaimer there. Just so if I wake up dead one day, I didn't mean to hurt anybody. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me here today. Veiled Mysteries is live every Monday, 8 p.m. in the East, 7 p.m. in the Mid-Region, and 6 p.m. on the West. As always, make sure to subscribe down below and hit the bell notification in the description to be notified every time we are live. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Veiled Mysteries Pod for updates and to stay in touch. If you have a true crime case or a conspiracy theory you'd like to see us cover, feel free to message me or email me at veiledmysterytips@gmail.com. As always, ask questions, stay curious, and be informed. I'm Brendan Ward. Have a good night.
Thank you.